Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Davo from Archon Esports, bringing you another 1v1 StarCraft 2 cast today. Yes! This time on Metalopolis, this time a Zerg versus Zerg. In the bottom side of the map, we have our blue Zerg today, who is Anbu. And in the top of the map, we have our red Zerg, who is Game of Drones, also known as Liquid TLO, also known as the Little One. Both of these players are very, very, very high masters, and I believe Game of Drones might be Grandmasters at this time. He's a very notoriously good players, and they're both on the European servers. Game of Drones, of course, is Liquid TLO. He is 21 and German. He has only recently switched to Zerg, but I believe he played Zerg before he played Terran. He's a very, very good player at both, winning many, many tournaments with his team, Team Liquid, which, if you're familiar with StarCraft, you should be at least a little bit familiar with Team Liquid. They're probably the biggest, what you would call, foreigner team, that is for players that don't come from Korea. In the world, I suppose, apart from maybe EG, they're pretty good as well. Well, they're good and big. I mean, Liquid are big and they're good. That's what I'm trying to say, basically. So anyway, Game of Drones, as we will call him in this cast, because otherwise it may get a little bit confusing. It may get a little bit confusing, seeing as he's called Game of Drones here and not Liquid TLO. He has severe carpal tunnel syndrome in both wrists, and that is from playing too much StarCraft, I believe. He has also publicly said on his stream that he will not shave his beard off until he places exceptionally well or wins a major tournament. So that is going to be fun. I cannot wait to see how big Game of Drones' beard will get. Excellent, so he does go for his early expand as well, as is favoured by quite a lot of Zerg players. I wish that I knew what they were talking about. Unfortunately, I really don't, as I do not speak German. I only speak Queen's English, sir. Queen's English. But hardly. Quite a lot of people in the UK don't actually speak Queen's English at all. They all speak kind of broken Cockney, I suppose. Yeah. Awesome. I don't speak Queen's English. I don't believe that awesome is a word that is in the Queen's English language. I don't even particularly know what Queen's English is. Anyway, back to the game. So we do have Metalopolis today, which is one of my favourite maps. I believe it's pretty much one of the best maps in the pool. Funnily enough, I've never actually noticed this big kind of telephone tower that's in the middle. It looks like the BT tower. But on Metalopolis, I've never actually noticed that before. Very interesting. And we do have two watchtowers here, giving both players a very equal opportunity to actually be able to see what is coming their way. Now, we do have Anbu opening with a little bit of aggression here, with some Zerglings coming out. Usually, ZVZ matches aren't actually that long, so we will see how long that one is. Or this one is going to be, even, is the correct way of saying that, of course. And usually ZVZ are actually quite exciting. Ooh, Spinecrawler going down here. Those Zerglings, the red Zerglings just chasing the blue ones away, making sure they can't do any damage to the Spinecrawler before it actually comes out. Queen on the way as well, which didn't make any noise for some reason. It didn't make any Queen noise, even though I had her selected. Maybe I'm completely wrong in saying that, but I had a feeling that maybe she should have made some noise when she came out, but she didn't. There. I may have to reinstall StarCraft, so we'll see what happens. And we do have Zergling speed just finished now for Anbu at around the 5-minute mark, which is pretty much around... It's a little bit early for Zergling speed, but hey, that's cool. Against other Zergs, they are known to get it a little bit quicker than usual because, of course, when you're playing a mirror matchup, as it's called, where you have two players playing the same race, then you really need all the upgrades you can get to make your units that little bit better, because otherwise they'll just be the same units. So you need to get yourself an edge in some way, shape or form. Now, a little way that Game of Drones is doing that is by getting a Baneling nest up, and so is Anbu, actually. They're both going a very, very similar tactic, and this can lead to quite literally explosive results. I mean, it can lead to game-changing and game-winning situations, Baneling tactics in ZVZ games, so it should be pretty interesting to see what we actually get here, because of course one Baneling hit could kill about 20 Zerglings if it is in the right position, and of course that would cripple one of their armies. All of these Zerglings from here could go down if they are hit from a Baneling from Game of Drones at this point in time, but we do have some Banelings on the way out here for Anbu as well, and they will have to deal with the Spinecrawler. Banelings on the way for Game of Drones as well. It does look like both players going for a fairly similar composition right here, but we have Baneling on Baneling action, Game of Drones sacrificing 2 banelings for... Ooh, can that baneling get some kills in there? He can, but unfortunately he doesn't actually kill them all. So Game of Drones there sacrificing. Ouch, there you go, there's a big baneling hit. Wow, see, I tried to make a point about 3 times, but I couldn't because it's so hectic. Game of Drones sacrificing 2 banelings for 1, but that is no big deal, as I can largely say that he pretty much won that engagement due to the fact that he does have spine crawlers, and spine crawlers are pretty hardy defense in any early game matchup, really. I mean, when I say early game, I mean before the 6-minute, 7-minute. They're very, very cheap. They're quite accessible. You know, you can build a spine crawler pretty much as soon as your spawning pool's done. And we do have Game of Drones now coming down here and killing off this hatchery that was being made for Anbu right now. Also making some banelings too. It does look like he'll be heading down here to do some harassment. Unfortunately, Anbu does not have the spine crawler that's thwarted his attack just yet. But these banelings are going to come out and cause a lot of trouble for Game of Drones right about now as well. Ooh, and quite a lot of the banelings getting absolutely destroyed there as soon as they get hatched. And that attack does look like it'll get thwarted from Game of Drones. Oh no, we do have some banelings coming in here, just blowing up on the extractor. That's all they are doing for now, just waiting for some drones to appear. Boom. There we go. So there we go. The baneling issue is over, and now we have another army moving out now for Anbu as well. So really, we are just exchanging blows in pushes right now. Undoubtedly, yeah, we see some banelings coming in from Anbu as well, and they do look like they'll be really doing quite a lot of damage. At the moment, really, it all comes down to who has slightly more stuff, but there is quite a lot of banelings coming on the field for Anbu right now. Both players do have that Zergling speed, and both players do actually look like they will be heading into getting some ranged units, such as roaches, which are virtually invulnerable to banelings as well. Wow, quite a lot of banelings go up there from Game of Drones, unfortunately. This baneling here being chased, and boom, they go down, suiciding on each other. This is a pretty even fight so far, but Game of Drones is going to come out on top as well. Quite a lot of Anbu's banelings got detonated for virtually no reason there, unfortunately. Also, I mean, we do have roaches out now, and if you heard me in my fast talkiness there, sorry about that, the roaches are armoured, and they are pretty resistant versus banelings. Banelings are really good against units that are considered light and biological, whereas roaches are considered armoured and biological, and that armoured gives them a massive advantage over how effective banelings are against them. So a very wise move. Both players actually have the range upgrade as well for Zerg right now. Range 1. Well, Zerg missile attacks 1 as well. So that, of course, they've both got the same kind of advantages. And we have a Hydralisk den. A Hydralisk pit, even, coming out for Game of Drones, as well as an infestation pit as well. And it's very key to point out actually that Game of Drones was a very good Zerg player before he switched to Terran. So I mean, really, around the time StarCraft 2 was really becoming popular, he was playing a lot of Terran, and he is one of these players that I would consider to be a massive fan favourite. Quite a lot of people really like him, but I'm not sure how the community has shifted towards him playing Zerg. I know that quite a lot of people found it kind of unusual when he started playing Zerg, but yeah, no, he did play Zerg for quite a while. And we have roaches now coming in from Game of Drones, and they do look like they'll probably be taking out this hatchery from Anbu, seeing as they are actually pretty good against Zerglings as well. I believe Blizzard actually flat out says that roaches counter Zerglings. It does look like this attack here from Anbu has been effective in destroying the hatchery, and now there are quite a lot of Zerglings in Game of Thrones' main base being attacked savagely by the Queen, who is whipping those big flailing arms at them. But unfortunately, she goes down pretty quickly, and the Zerglings get cleared up by some roaches. These roaches do look like they'll probably be pulling back now. Their damage has been done. They have basically been allowed to take out that hatchery with more or less no distractions. Very good indeed. We have the reconstitution, was it Glail reconstitution coming up right now, which does make roaches quite a lot faster. It's one of the things that is very good for roaches. It makes them a much better unit because it gives them the ability to kite other units and stuff like that. Basically, it also gives them the ability to absolutely leg it if they need to, because generally speaking, roaches are pretty slow without that upgrade. We also have the pathogen glands on the way for Anbu as well. It does look like both these players are going roughly the same kind of build at the moment. And I mean, these roaches are actually quite a lot quicker with that leg upgrade. It's kind of like roach speed upgrade. And we also have burrow on the way as well, and a massive fungal growth going down on all of those roaches right there. Ouch, and that does have to hurt. It doesn't look like Anbu was fully prepared for that, and it does look like GameOfDrones will clear that up fairly nicely, seeing as he was just able to pretty much fungal growth his way out of trouble just there. Yeah, very good times. We do have Zerglings coming down the side of the map for GameOfDrones as well. They do look like they'll probably be busting into this expansion where 4 Zerglings have already started going to town and are eating that hatchery right about now. It does look like Anbu might be looking to expand right there as well. GameOfDrones probably saw it and is going to see what's happening. Transfusers going down on that hatchery as well, trying to save it, just so the Zerglings can't kill it. It does look like they'll have success in trying to save it. There's quite a lot of roaches there, to be honest. That attack from GameOfDrones would not have worked. I mean, it would have worked, but Anbu is pretty quick off the bat with getting his transfusers up as well, because he is, of course, a professional level player, as GameOfDrones is, and they're both very, very good players indeed. Excellent. So we have burrow coming down for both of our players right now, and that is very useful for infestors as well, of course, because it allows infestors to be able to burrow in the first place, which they are very, very good at. They're actually the unit that can move while burrowed without any upgrades apart from just burrow, whereas roaches need something called tunneling claws to be able to do that. Of course, that helps with their maneuverability. It helps greatly. Basically, you can do all sorts of surprise attacks and lots of really, really cool and fun stuff. Both players getting their armor +1 as well. Anbu really getting quite the sizable roach army, with 7 more roaches on the way at the moment as well. He really is going for quite a lot of roach upgrades. He is also getting his armor upgrade too. Excellent, which of course will make them quite a lot harder to kill as well. As far as composition goes, we see that both players basically have the same amount of drones to each other, but Anbu really does have a hell of a lot of more roaches than pretty much anything else. He is actually going to spot all of these infestors coming out, and that is really unfortunate. That overseer even coming out exactly when it needed to be able to let the roaches see those infestors coming down the path there, and unfortunately GameOfDrones losing quite a lot of infestors. Now Anbu is capped and he is looking mean and ready to go with 54 roaches. Ouch, that is a lot of roach. He is so capped, in fact, that he is not actually producing anything at the moment. Oh, and a cheeky fungal growth going down there from GameOfDrones, which I did not see coming. And we do have Hydralisks in the army as well, but this is a hell of a lot of roach from Anbu. GameOfDrones might have to be a little bit careful here on what actually happens, because he is vastly outnumbered on how many roaches he has. Those infestors actually getting fungal growth, which is something you don't actually see too often. Quite a lot of fungal growth going down. More reinforcing units coming in the back here from GameOfDrones as well, coming down the ramp from his brand new gold expansion. It does look like most of these infestors are pretty much out of energy as they are just sat there, but it does look like Anbu's sheer amount of numbers will pretty much clear this up, but he does have to be really careful, because these infestors are just being caught in the middle of nowhere. And he nearly lost quite a lot of his infestors there, Anbu. I think with a little bit more control, that could have been a pretty nasty attack from Anbu right there, but I mean, he did leave his infestors out in the open and lost pretty much all of them, bar 1. That is not a good trade, really. We have more roaches on the way right now as well. Both of the teams have the identical upgrades. GameOfDrones, however, does have Hydralisks, and Hydralisks are really good in this matchup because they can just sit behind the roaches and do all sorts of DPS. But another thing that can do all sorts of DPS is this many roaches. Holy mackerel, that is a lot of roaches. It really does look like Anbu is absolutely running his opponent down at the moment. He does need to get an overseer in here so he can actually detect these Hydralisks and these roaches as well. GameOfDrones fancying he has a chance, taking this army slightly out of position now, which is something that I do agree with, actually. He was able to effectively cut the army in half there by popping those units up there in the middle. more reinforcing roaches coming from the bottom side of the map as well. But they do look like they'll just be looking after the high yield expansion, which Anbu has expanded on while that attack has taken place. Quite a lot of roaches come back from the battle, not entirely battle scarred, as they do regenerate health very, very quickly when they're burrowed, which is another advantage of roaches. Okay, so we do have a large attack coming in here from Game of Drones right about now. And it does look like this hatchery is going to go down. If Game of Drones were to focus this hatchery down, it would happen. But I mean, generally speaking, it'll probably be rebuilt pretty quickly. Pulling back out now, it does look like perhaps Game of Drones didn't really know that there was that many roaches burrowed there, and thus kind of put his army a little bit out of position. That infest from Anbu getting taken out pretty damn quickly as well. Anbu losing a lot of drones there. Unfortunately, Game of Drones burrowing some roaches in the back of his opponent's mineral line. That way he can unburrow them at any point, or like that, I guess, and kill some drones. But nope, there we go. So he has reburrowed. Well, Anbu has reburrowed all of his roaches in and around his mineral line, just waiting for Game of Drones to make his next move. Speaking of making next moves, economically speaking, Game of Drones is quite on top of things. He doesn't have quite as much supply as his opponent, but he does have a 5th base up right about now as well, which will definitely help him in this game going forward. We do have another massive roach push here coming from Anbu, with some infestors round the back as well. Game of Drones taking a little bit of time to expand. Usually he's a very, very cautious kind of expander, which I know isn't really properly a word, but hey, expander kind of gets over what I'm trying to say. And ouch, quite a lot of these infestors get fungal growth as well. And it does look like Game of Drones is going to be losing his natural expansion. He's definitely just lost his roach warren as well, which can't be healthy. He really, really needs to build another roach warren pretty soon, because roaches are a very good counter to other roaches. So, I mean, generally speaking, he does not need to build a roach warren pretty soon in order to hold off future attacks from Anbu. Anbu, looking like he has done his damage now, is going to be heading back to tend to how many roaches are in his natural. Again, ouch, this has got to hurt. I think Anbu still has his roach warren somewhere, as he is producing 8 roaches at the moment. When this army gets back, I'm going to go ahead and say it. Game of Drones might be in a lot of trouble. Game of Drones really should think about building another roach warren if he hasn't already. I may have not seen it on the production. And here we go. It does look like Anbu should be able to get a pretty good concave. More roaches around the back here coming from Game of Drones. Good fungal growth going down on these roaches as well. But a fungal growth going down on that infestor as well too. It does look like Anbu might actually win this engagement. Pretty sharpish, so there's quite a lot of overlords around, just kind of minding their own business. But it looks like Anbu didn't particularly want the base race, and he was just going to head back and actually kill off that attacking army from Game of Drones. In the meanwhile, the 3rd expansion and 2nd expansion has actually gone down for Anbu right about now. The only thing that TLO has lost, well, I say the only thing TLO has lost, he has managed to lose his natural expansion and his high yield expansion as well. So I mean, quite a lot of really, really huge amounts of combat has actually gone down. At the moment, Game of Drones looking financially quite a lot better off. He does actually have 2 bases running. His main is basically mined out, but it is still running, whereas Anbu only really has 1 base running, which isn't mining at all. It does look like these infested Terrans are going to be taking down that hatchery pretty quickly. Yes, they are. Anbu really having to just defend now to see what he can do. If he's going to try and win this, he needs to make something happen pretty soon and go and destroy quite a lot of TLO's stuff. His army is quite a lot bigger than TLO's in terms of roaches. So it'd be really, really, really good if Anbu were just to head out right now and crush his opponent. Or at least try to kind of prune off some of these expansions that Game of Drones has actually got right about now. But that is yet to be seen. We have seen Anbu get his other base up right now, but here are some infestors coming from Game of Drones, and yes, it does look like some infested Terrans will be getting spawned out, and they will be probably killing quite a lot of these drones as well, or at least 3 of them anyway. They are like zombies. They're really cool. They look like Chaos Marines or something from the Warhammer universe. It doesn't look like that Infestor will go down. Yes, he got one shot by 3 roaches. Ouch, that is not a nice way to die. I believe it's an acid spit. What is it? Acid saliva for roaches. And ouch, that has got to hurt. Okay, so we do have a really, really big push in here, and it does look like this could possibly be the last push of the game if Game of Drones isn't careful. Quite a lot of really nice fungal growths going down from the Infestors of Game of Drones right now, but Infested Marines really, really help with how much stuff they can actually kill. Infested Marines do quite a lot of DPS themselves. These roaches are burrowing here just to get a little bit of health back. See, as we can see here, quite a lot of health is being recovered by these roaches fairly quickly. That will just change from yellow to green. It does happen. They are very quick recoverers of health. All these infected Terrans actually just expiring off their own accord right now. A nice fungal growth going down from Game of Drones as well that are going to kill quite a lot of these infestors just from being underground. In fact, it kills all of them, so I'm not sure how many infestors... Oh, okay, I think Anbu has 3 infestors left. I know that Game of Drones has slightly more than that, and Infestors are a very, very powerful unit indeed, but it does not look like a good situation at all for Game of Drones at this moment in time. We do have Game of Drones taking out his opponent's base here as well, which was the new expansion that Anbu definitely needed to actually make stuff happen in the game. He doesn't actually have an expansion left, he only has his main, and it does look like this could end up as a base race scenario, depending on who GG's first, if I'm brutally honest. It looks quite bleak from both players' perspectives, but that's absolutely fine, because it just means, quite a lot of stuff getting cancelled there from TLO as well, opting not to lose all those minerals and just cancel all of those spine crawlers instead. And we do have quite a lot of infested Terrans coming down and causing quite a lot of trouble in the main base, and some really, really nice fancy transfuse micro coming down from Anbu right now as well, saving his roaches' lives. Now, it does look like Game of Drones sparing himself the base race that he was probably going to lose, as he didn't really have enough forces to effectively base race anything here. He had some Zerglings, yeah, that's cool, and he had an infected Terran, which, by the way, look amazing. That is awesome, and that is cool too. You've got to hand it to Blizzard, really. Quite a lot of the art in this game is flipping awesome. You really have to hand it to Blizzard. It's really, really sick stuff. But yeah, I think Game of Drones basically entered into a base race that he couldn't win, unfortunately. But hey-ho. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day, and I will talk to you guys next time. Enjoy playing StarCraft. Goodbye!